are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, a show about journey stories. And we are hanging out here on the one and only KGRAradio.com, heard throughout our universe every Wednesday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And each week, we get to wander with a new guest about their authentic experiences through this human journey. I'm so happy to have you here with us for a live show tonight. I'm AJ Rasmussen, and I am an owner and manager of an incredible heart-centered healing space called Vibes Mind, Body, Spirit. And it's there where I get to assist others in their personal journeys in healing the mind, body, spirit, and the heart. And I'm also your host of Soul Wanderings. And can I just tell you how much I have missed you all? Not having the opportunity to host live shows the last 2 weeks was not my favorite thing. Let's just say that. Let's just try not to do that again as much as possible. I do want to say thanks to all who hung out with me in the chat room last week during a replay where we got to hear Bill Skywatcher's journey story together. That was a lot of fun, and I feel completely supported by all of my wanderers. So thank you for your continued time and support. You guys really are the best. So, hey, if you guys are listening in on your phone or your computer, make sure you hop over to the Listener Lounge. For those of you who don't know, the Listener Lounge is a chat room that's hosted on KGRAradio.com. And I hang out there. I grab your questions that you may have for the guest and have some conversation with you during break time. So if you find yourself wanting to ask a question, you'll want to hang out there with me too and all of the other wanderers. And you can do that by going to kgraradio.com/chat. And I hope to find you there. Let's get started. I'm really excited about tonight's wanderer. I've been in anticipation for this conversation for a long time now. Our guest tonight is an ET contactee, interdimensional traveler, and a galactic historian. And after a fateful extraterrestrial contact experience a few years ago, she awakened to her true star lineage and higher calling. And through her ancestral connection with the Akashic Records, she has been receiving downloads of galactic historical information and universal spiritual knowledge ever since. And she feels it's a big part of her mission while here on Earth to help awaken others to their own true divine selves and cosmic origins. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our latest soul wanderer, Debbie Solaris. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm Debbie Solaris, and I'm so excited to be here on AJ's show. I just love the concept, and I like how organic the show is. So I'm just super excited to be here tonight.
Wonderful. I really have been anxious for this meeting, and I do want to thank Tom Hamblin for this connection. If he's listening, thank you so much.
Yes, Tom's actually my neighbor down the street. So he was, what's interesting about Tom and me is that Tom heard me on a radio show 2 years ago, just to give you a little background story, and kind of remembered that my name had something to do with the sun, but wanted to contact me, but kind of lost touch for 2 years. And then he all of a sudden had an interest in having an Akashic reading. He booked a reading with a lady or tried to book a reading with a lady in Boulder. That fell through. So then he happened to find me. And then we discovered, through just kind of back and forth emails to each other, that he's actually my neighbor. So he was trying to look for me for 2 years, and we just lived down the street from each other. So it's amazing how sometimes our wanderings bring us to soul brothers and sisters that are on the same path.
Absolutely. I love how that works. There's no coincidence. And
Not
for
at
those
all.
of you who are wondering, Tom Hamblin was actually a guest here on Soul Wanderings. He came to visit Ogden just for the show, and his episode was number 104, aired in January. So make sure you guys check that one out as a little reminder. But this wandering is about you, Debbie. So let's know you. We have so much information. You have so much information.
I know.
I really...
I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll begin with my story, but since you were asking about that.
Absolutely. So tell me about yourself, your human self, before we get on to your actual experiences that you've had. Let's talk a little bit about who you are and some of your history.
Okay. That's fair enough. I'm Debbie, and I was pretty much always kind of boring and ordinary. Okay, I have no gifts whatsoever. I was somebody that lived a very conventional life. I was born into a military family, so my father was in the U.S. Army, so we traveled quite a bit throughout my childhood. And so I've been pretty much in many places around the world that, I think most people otherwise would never get the opportunity to go to, simply because of my father's career. But the cool thing about my parents, I have to say my parents have always been kind of progressive in the sense was that they would just drag us kids along with them and whatever travels they would make, whether it be to Switzerland or France or Yugoslavia, or I don't know, it was just, Australia. I mean, we just went all over the place. And my parents were, I think, progressive in the sense that no matter how young we were, they wanted us to be exposed to the history and culture of the place that we were visiting. So I kind of had a crash course as a kid, and I saw so many cathedrals. I guess I can't even count how many monuments and cathedrals and things I've been to. But we were also exposed to art. They would take us to ballets and plays and operas, and so they really wanted us to get exposed to kind of the history and the culture of, especially, some of the countries we were visiting. So in that sense, I think I had probably an interesting experience beyond your average American kid, but other than that, I would say I had a pretty ordinary upbringing. My parents and my family were Roman Catholic. So we were raised Roman Catholic, very conventional, very conservative, okay. After I graduated from high school and I bounced around a little bit, I did end up joining the military myself. So I spent 6 years in the U.S. Navy, okay, so I am a military veteran. I was a hospital corpsman / preventive medicine technician. So I worked a lot with it was actually kind of scientific. So I worked a lot in industrial hygiene, in water quality, in food service inspections. We did air quality, asbestos. I mean, anything you can think of that was environmental, I was exposed to. Entomology. I mean, I did some of that too when I was in the Navy. So So I had an interesting career. It took me mostly to Westpac. I was a Westpac sailor, so I ended up going to mostly stationed in California and Hawaii. Okay, which was kind of significant later on as I, looked back on my soul journey. But I was always hoping to get sent to Europe, so I was kind of perturbed that I was always getting sent to California and Hawaii. But after I arrived in Hawaii, I was okay with it. I was like, okay, Hawaii's awesome. I can handle being here for 4 years. Okay, so I worked for a environmental preventive medicine unit. Got to travel to places like Japan and Thailand, and just did various military exercises. Sometimes they send us off to ships and submarines to do inspections. So that was always kind of interesting. After my 6 years in, I had gotten a bachelor's degree in science and decided that, I wanted to get out because I wanted to have somewhat of a normal life. Okay. So I really didn't have any, I think, interest in the paranormal or any interest in extraterrestrials or anything that was considered to be metaphysical during this time. I was just kind of focused mainly on the third dimensional world and just trying to start up a new civilian career after, being in the military. So I eventually settled into becoming an environmental health specialist for various health departments. First one being in Arizona, and then I ended up in Colorado after that. But I didn't really have any special psychic skills, growing up or even into most of my adulthood. So
something you used to do as a child and then relearned how to do it that you're aware of? I know a lot of psychics and intuitives have the gift when they're younger and they're like, well, it scared other people or they told me not to be that way. And then they would shut it down. So it was all new to you once it became into your awareness?
Yes. I think I probably did have intuitive abilities because I remember in my 20s, I picked up a pack of tarot cards and knew immediately what to do with them, okay, which was really bizarre. I never really took it seriously, but sometimes I would do readings for friends and family, and we'd laugh. And but everybody would always say, like, "Wow, even though you're just doing this for fun, your prediction was very accurate." Or and even in my childhood, I think I probably had some dreams. I used to interpret dreams, or I had prophetic dremes, but. It's like you said, people think it's weird, so you end up just kind of learning not to delve into that realm, so much. So I think you're right. I probably did have the abilities before, but just never really paid that much attention to it as I was growing up.
Gotcha. So this very human life that you had growing up and into your adulthood, you have a much different lifestyle now. So usually when that's the case and this wasn't on your radar, it's because something significant happened. Was that the case for you, or did it just kind of fall into your lap?
I would say it fell into my lap. I think I was kind of building up to it in a way, but I think it fell into my lap as well, because I have people that always say, why did you have that experience? And I always tell them, I don't know. I'm like the least likeliest person that should have that extraterrestrial experience. But as I mentioned before, I didn't really have any much exposure to extraterrestrials until I started dating my now husband. Terry. Okay. I used to go over his house and I would find UFO magazine all over his house. And he's a really straight guy. He's kind of a square kind of a guy. So I was like really shocked to see these really bizarre magazines in his house. And I used to ask him, "Do you read this stuff?" And he says, "Oh yeah." He says, "Yeah, I'm really a UFO enthusiast. I love those stories, and I love anything paranormal." And I was like, "Really?" And so it was actually him that got me kind of, at least kind of planted the idea in my head, maybe. But even then, I was skeptical. I was just kind of like, "Oh, I don't know. I mean, that seems kind of far out there. I can't believe you believe in this stuff, And I mean, he was so enthusiastic about it. And I spent, 30 years of my life working in science and then being in the military. So, to me, this was like, what the heck is this crazy? But I started reading some of the articles and I would be like, I don't know, I don't know if I believe it, but I can see where it could be possible. I mean, it was like somehow the seed was being planted in my head, but I still wasn't really that much of a believer until I had my own experience. Okay. And I had never asked to have an experience. I was not your typical UFO enthusiast or paranormal person. I wasn't even metaphysical. I did started taking some spiritual classes in Colorado just out of curiosity, because I think, reading the articles kind of led me to having more curiosity about maybe Native American medicine or crystal healing, those types of classes. So, so I started exposing myself more to the metaphysical realm. Okay. But actually, things really changed for me in 2012. So I actually consider myself, compared to a lot of people that are in this genre, very much a spiritual late bloomer. Okay. I mean, I was like clueless until 2012. Okay. So what happened? What's that?
It's very recent.
Yeah, it is very recent. So I've been on the spiritual fast track ever since. But what happened in 2012 is I had a couple of very intense out-of-body experiences, okay, where I found myself. What happened was, I think this was during the time when my husband and I were making plans to solidify our relationship. We were moving from two households into one. So I moved from Colorado Springs, he moved from Denver, and we kind of met in the middle in Castle Rock, which is a small little kind of suburb, just south of Denver. But there was a lot of upheavals in our lives, just trying to make this transition to combine and start our lives together. And then there was also, I don't know if you remember, but there was also a lot of upheavals going on in our planet during that time too, with the Mayan calendar ending on 2012. And then there was the elections that were going on during that time. And then the direction that our country was heading to during that time especially worried me, because I wasn't sure what to expect out of the elections. I just see that there was a lot of conflicts on our planet. There was animal species that were becoming extinct, and I'm a very environmentally conscious person. So I was just very, very worried. Okay, and I sent out a prayer one night. It was during a sleepless, worried-filled night. This was one night in late May, okay, in 2012. I said this deeply heartfelt, earnest prayer to anybody in the universe who would listen to me. Okay, so that would be either, so I was sending it out to Jesus, I was sending it out to the Ascended Masters, I was sending it out to all the saints I could think of from my Roman Catholic upbringing, to the archangels, and somehow at the last minute I also, it's kind of extended my request to any space brothers and sisters, anybody out there that would, really listen, so, go ahead.
I was just saying anyone who will listen. Yeah.
Anyone who would listen. Yeah. So what I told them, that I was very worried about the state that our planet Earth is in, especially socially and environmentally, and that we really needed help here on Earth. Because any assistance would be most appreciated. I was sending out this prayer. It was like very heart-filled and earnest, and I sent this prayer out from my heart all night long. I was just so worried about our planet. And so after that night, 2 weeks had passed and nothing really happened. So there was no signs, messages, signals, nothing. So I just figured, well, as usual, nobody heard me, or gave a damn, So it was just kind of like business as usual. And I went back to my, humdrum life, just kind of tried to continue on with our search for, a place to live in Castle Rock with my husband and all the other things going on. I remember during that time I had some really bad back issues, and I was facing laser surgery. Not that it was major surgery at all, but it was something that was also on the horizon for me. So that was also a big worry of mine. So one night in June 2012, a few days after having minor back surgery, I did go to sleep, but I ended up having a very intense out-of-body experience where I actually found myself in an alternate reality. Yeah, so this was no dream, okay? Usually my dreams are really vague, and I don't remember them really well. This was very real, okay? It was kind of felt like I was in some sort of hyper reality. Okay, so it was I don't know. It was strange. I knew I was on board some sort of starship. Okay, because it was unlike anything I had seen. Even in sci-fi movies. Somehow I knew it was a starship, but everything was made of light and some plasma-like material. Okay, it was something I've never seen before. It was a technology I'd never seen. It was definitely non-metallic. I think a lot of times in sci-fi movies, when we look at sci-fi, the ships look very metallic. They look like they're physically built. This didn't look like this. This looked like a light ship, okay? It was comprised of light, okay? The ship was huge. It was looked to be city-sized, okay? The technology was unlike anything I've ever seen on Earth. The ship itself was surprisingly organic. Okay, so and it seemed to be a living entity unto itself. It would respond to the needs of its inhabitants, which I'd never seen anything like that. What I did notice most of all was that the details, and this was obviously some higher dimensional realm, but the details were much sharper, crisper, and had more clarity than what we would find in 3D. The colors were very brilliant. I could see energy moving and auras around things. It was something I've never seen before. somehow the ship was kind of leading me towards a room. Okay. And it was interesting. It was so organic that I just kind of followed along. I wasn't really afraid. I just thought, well, this is really strange. I ended up in something that, it was a huge room, okay, kind of looked like, I don't know, like a conference room of some sort, but even beyond that. I was greeted by a group of beings. I think there was like 4 or 5 of them, okay?
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, though, because we're going to take a quick break, and I love the cliffhangers.
Okay, sounds good.
So right where you're greeted by a group of beings, we will start there when we get back from our break. You guys, we're Soul Wandering with Debbie Solaris tonight, and there's obviously more to come. So stay close because we'll be back here in a few short minutes.
Ray Sobbs here for SaucerLosAngeles.com, and I hope most of you by now have had the chance to go by and check out the Saucer clothing line, but if you haven't, go to SaucerLosAngeles.com. They've got clothes for men and women of all ages, even babies. All logos are embroidered, and everything is quality made right here in the USA. Go to SaucerLosAngeles.com now to find clothes that can elevate your state of mind because they believe in quality, durability, and they believe in style at SaucerLosAngeles.com.
This is Richard Dolan, and I want to brag for just a second about the incredible authors I publish under Richard Dolan Press. Some of the most innovative and well-researched books in the field of UFOs and beyond that you'll find anywhere in the world. Incredible UFO encounters, the cover-up, the experiences by ordinary people, Russian UFOs, psychic phenomena, consciousness, synchronicities, and owls. Yeah, it's all there, and it's all fascinating reading because I would never publish a book that isn't. To learn more, go to richarddolanpress.com.
Hi, it's AJ from Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. Have you been searching for unique items to create or add to your sacred space? What about tools for your holistic healing? Or those one-of-a-kind magical ingredients to manifest your desires? Well, look no more because Vibes has a variety of items to assist you in your spiritual journey. From crystals to candles, incense to books, tapestries to jewelry, OnlineVibes.com has what you're seeking. We even have some thoughtful and mindful gifts to share with your friends and family too. Visit us at OnlineVibes.com from the comfort of your home or give us a call at 385-244-1099 to have your order beautifully packaged and sent directly to you or a loved one. And right now, take advantage of the coupon code KGRA at checkout to receive 15% off any order. Remember, online, VIBEZ.com.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the Grads of Life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, hosted here on KGRAradio.com. We are wandering with our guest this evening, a galactic historian, intuitive, mythologist, and Arcturian starseed, Debbie Solaris. And Debbie, before the break, we kind of left everyone at cliffhanger. You were led onto a ship, or found yourself on this ship, this really incredible moving city, if you will. And right before the break, you were presented to a group of beings, and I made you stop.
Yeah,
so I'm really
have
anxious
those commercial
to hear what
breaks.
happened next.
Okay. Well, the group of beings, they did not look human. Okay. They had some humanoid features, but they were short, around my height, maybe shorter. And they were very slender. They were almost looked like they were pulling their frequency down to even meet with me, because I had a hard time even looking at them. They had larger heads with large eyes, but they did not look like gray aliens. They did have, some softer, more elegant features. And their eyes did have pupils and irises, and they were very kindly in expression, okay? Their skin, it was kind of hard to tell. I mean, I had a really hard time. It was like I almost had to glance at them sideways because their auras were so brilliant. And they were, from what I could tell, they looked kind of bluish-greenish, but their auras had multicolors, and a lot of it was colors I haven't even seen before. So when I asked them, I asked them, well, who are you, and where am I, and what am I doing here? The obvious questions.
Right.
They patiently explained to me that they were Arcturians from Arcturus. And they told me that I was on board their ship, and I was there because they heard my prayer. That was my prayer from 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And they were really moved by it. And they felt like it was time for me to know why I was really on Earth and what was happening on Earth, because it was time for me to understand my bigger mission. And this was all kind of like foreign concepts to me. They were, I just wanted to add that they were communicating with me via telepathy. Okay, so
ask you how this conversation was taking place.
Yeah, it was, I was surprised that I could communicate so easily with them through telepathy, because I didn't even realize I knew how to speak in telepathy, and I certainly didn't know Arcturian. I don't know if they knew English or not, but I sure didn't know Arcturian. Okay, so, Now, they did tell me something weird, which really, I think, it was very shocking to me. They told me they were my family. And that was shocking to me because I couldn't even imagine being related to these magnificent beings. I mean, they were just magnificent. And somehow I'm related to them. I mean, it was just kind of blew my mind. People always ask me, well, were you afraid when you encountered these beings? And I said, no. I said, they had such loving and kind energy that I just felt really comfortable around them. Like maybe there was a familiarity or something about them that made me feel comfortable. So they did talk to me about a lot of things, especially about my connection to them and my family history. They told me my actual physical lineage, that somehow there was a starship that crash landed in central Italy a long time ago. This was an Arcturian starship, and that the Arcturians started the Etruscan race. Okay, it was just like an experiment for them to see if they can develop a highly evolved race, okay, that wasn't so warlike on Earth, okay, and they were successful for a while. My actual physical lineage here in my Earth family actually dates back to the Etruscans. My father is from that region in Italy, so we even have Etruscan pottery that's been handed down, in our family for many generations, so that kind of made sense to me a little bit. So I guess, these, and they told me I came from a long line of Arcturian historians, scientists, and ambassadors, as well as having a starseed soul connection to Arcturus. They answered a lot of my questions, kind of like a parent would for a child. Okay, so I would ask them a question about something and they would patiently answer it. And I asked them a lot of questions. Okay,
I'm sure I would be too.
Yeah, I was just like, so why is this happening? Why is that happening? And they were kind of illustrating some of their concepts through a hologram that they had me in. And it was really cool because I was getting visual images along with, kind of the verbal messages. And for instance, when they told me they were from Arcturus, they actually showed me a star map where, Arcturus is located and how it's located in relation to Earth. And then they would illustrate concepts through this hologram, which was really kind of amazing. The one thing they told me over and over again was that everything that's happening here on Earth right now is an illusion. And they told me this 5 times, okay? And that I shouldn't get too attached to the drama around me, and I shouldn't worry. Okay, they said you worry a lot, and I said yeah, that's actually true. I was somebody that was and suffered from anxiety for most of my life, anxiety and depression. Okay, so. But they told me I shouldn't worry because they have things under control and they're watching not only over me, but they're watching over my immediate family and anybody that's connected to me. So they're actually watching and protecting us, which I thought was amazing. I had never heard that before, It was kind of like a big relief, like, oh, I don't have anything to worry about. These, bigger dimensional beings are, watching over me and they're protecting me. But when they mentioned my greater family, I think they were referring to the starseed family or anybody that's connected to me, which I didn't quite understand that at the time, but I think I understand it more now. They did mention especially their concern for the Earth's environment and, and spiritual evolution, but they couldn't interfere with Earth's destiny because of the spiritual law of free will. So when I kept asking them, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? They just kind of chuckled at me and said, well, it's up to you. It's up to you. And I was just like, okay. So the most amazing thing they showed me was a vision of Earth's future, which it was similar to Earth, or it was Earth, but it was in a different timeline, but it was in a much more evolved state. So they were showing Earth with free energy devices, beautiful and efficient homes that blended with the environment, octagonal greenhouses, with people using teleportation as their main form of travel. So there wasn't even cars or airplanes anymore. I think they did have some recreational vehicles, but people didn't have a need for that anymore. So
for traveling?
Yeah, they would teleport themselves. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I thought that was so amazing. I was like, wow, I would just love to do that. Just be able to think, okay, I want to be in Costa Rica next week. Yes. Bloop, there I am, so. So I kept asking them, is this just for rich people? Because that's how I was conditioned. And they kind of chuckled at me and they said, no, this is for everybody. And they were just laughing at me because, I was just raised to believe that only rich people get really good things on our planet. And they said, no, this is available for everybody. And I did keep asking him, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? And they told me, well, it's up to you. It's up to the people on Earth. They did have, I think, they showed me around the ship, and they showed me, different parts of the ship. The area I remembered the most was one they called the sleeping room. This room didn't have any beds, which was strange. And then as soon as I walked into the room, the walls turned purple, and it was showing images of Asian landscape paintings. And so I was asking the Arcturians, why is the room doing this? And they said, well, it's just responding to what you find relaxing and what you like. And I do like Asian landscape paintings. So
it was different for anyone who were there to experience it.
Exactly, yeah. So I like the color purple. That's my favorite color. And I like Asian landscape paintings. So then they told me to explore the ship on my own. So I did. And I found myself in a large atrium. It was huge. It was dome-like, and it had several levels. There were hundreds of different extraterrestrial beings in this atrium walking around, meeting in groups. I was very, very surprised to see that the majority of them on the ship looked humanoid. I mean, there were some obvious differences. Obviously a lot of them were much taller than us, but maybe better looking. But they seemed friendly. I didn't feel like threatened. I was just walking around, kind of bumbling around this atrium. I noticed that there were shafts of light that was going in between parts, because this atrium was huge. So there was shafts of light that was kind of transporting beings across this huge dome, and beings would get on the shaft of light and they would transport them to the other side of the atrium. And so I called it the light escalator in my head because I didn't have any other terminology for it. But it wasn't like an escalator at all. It was like shafts of light. And so I tried to get on one of these, and I kept slipping off. And I think I must have slipped off of it like 3 times before I was caught by a being that looked humanoid. He looked Pleiadian. I don't know if he was truly Pleiadian or not. I'm just assuming he was, but very tall, I've never seen humans look like that. Just they're luminescent. The energy that came off this person, I mean, I could see his aura. I could see what his eyes looked like. Very, very beautiful. And it was a male. And so he telepathically told me, you're doing it all wrong. You're trying to use your feet. He said, use your mind. Think about where you want to go, then step onto the light shaft. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it your way, because obviously I'm not doing it right. So I did what he told me to do, and I stepped on that light shaft, and I was traveling on it. And I was so excited. And as I was traveling on it, I woke up and I was back in my bed, in my Earth life. Okay, so
we do have a question from the chat room.
Okay,
they're interested in knowing what other beings you saw. Like, describe the appearance of some of the other beings that were present in that experience with you.
Like I said, a lot of them looked humanoid. Some of them had blue skin. Some of them, they wore very bizarre outfits. There were some reptilian-looking beings, which surprised me, but I did see some reptilian-looking beings. I saw some that looked amphibian. Some of them looked Syrian. They had lighter blue skin, or kind of a deeper blue skin tone, but otherwise humanoid looking. Most of them were much taller than us. They had, and they were physically more well built, physically better put together. Maybe it's kind of hard to describe. They just seemed to have higher vibration, and but I just saw, mostly humanoid looking, but various skin tone colors. Some of them had larger eyes. Some of them had features that looked humanoid, but maybe there was some slight differences. Like if you were to see them, you would know, okay, they kind of look human, but they're not. I know they're not. Then there was others that really didn't look human. Okay, that they were, obviously had blue skin tone, or maybe different appendages. I don't know. But there was multiple. I was just overwhelmed by how many species of beings was on the ship.
Wow, yeah, it sounds like a lot.
So it was kind of hard to take it all in. It was just like, I would just see this and that, and there was like there was hundreds of them. So there was groups of them that were meeting on certain levels of the atrium, and then there was others that were walking, and some that were talking to each other. So I guess maybe they didn't think it was so strange that there was an Earth person wandering around there. But yeah,
how long do you think that you were there with them?
It seemed like I was there for a long time. I mean, like maybe months. But when I woke up, it was only like a night had passed, so maybe like 7 hours, when I was asleep. But when I was there, it seemed like I was there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a really long time. So it seemed like their concept of time is different than ours.
Right. Yeah, I would assume so. At least from what I've learned and understood. Did they tell you what your purpose is, or what your experience is here as a human?
Not directly. They did tell me that I came from a long line of Arcturian. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So.
Oh, I know, and I keep asking you questions.
Oh no, it's good. No. They didn't really directly tell me what my mission was. It was almost like they wanted me to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But they did tell me I came from a long line of Arcturian historians, scientists, and ambassadors. and that I have a ancestral connection to the Akashic records, which I didn't even know what the heck that was when they told me that. And that, I was supposed to be there to help people on Earth, and that was it.
They didn't say how. You were just meant to help them in some way.
Yeah. It was almost like they just wanted me to figure it out on my own.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now you're back into your human experience after having that altered reality state with these other dimensional beings. How did your personal reality change, and what happened with you from that point going forward? Like, how did you explain this to your husband or your friends and family? What did you do with the information and experiences that you received?
That's a very good question. Actually, I wish I could say that everything was hunky-dory and, I had a wonderful experiences afterwards, but it was a lot of ups and downs. Okay. I would say my life changed dramatically after having those experiences. I was not the same person. Okay. I entered that ship as an ordinary Earth human, but I left the ship as a newly awakened starseed and galactic citizen, basically. Okay.
Which was
yeah. So almost overnight, I seemed to have gained an expanded view of our place in the universe as Earth humans. I was starting to get constant downloads of information that I know I didn't learn in the schools I went to here on Earth. So I was remembering and channeling ancient galactic historical events and universal law and concepts. And I was even starting to have past life regressions about some of my off-world lives. So it's like all of a sudden I was starting to remember who I truly am. Okay. However, things weren't all sunshine and roses after my experiences. I felt very confused about having to be back in 3D reality after being in these high dimensional realms. Mm-hmm. For several months afterwards, I literally cried every morning as I drove myself to work. I had a very hard time adjusting to normal life. And I would frequently ask my spirit guides why I was back in this low density planet. I found myself going through periods of depression and self-imposed isolation. It just seemed like the loud noises and the erratic energies, like here on Earth sometimes, that we feel, that most people kind of take for granted, really started bothering me. I became ultra sensitive. Okay. Just to give you an example, I used to be an avid TV watcher, before my experiences. I used to love watching all the TV shows. But afterwards, I could no longer watch TV because I could hear the constant subliminal programming and brainwashing on the TV. And sometimes my husband would make fun of me and say, "Are you like a dog or something?" What he's hearing. And I said, I hear the subliminal messages. I can't stand it, and I'll try to watch a show with him even now, and because he likes to watch the talent shows, and I have a hard time with it. It's just like I can watch it for maybe like 30 minutes, and then I'm just like, "Boop, that's enough, done." Yeah. To this day, I also have a hard time with most Hollywood-produced movies, okay, and very low vibrational music. I can't listen to it, okay. Yeah. I did find that after my experience on board that starship, my extrasensory perception increased 100-fold. Okay. And it was like I was becoming sensitive to everything. Just to kind of give you a short little story here. One day in downtown Colorado Springs, I worked in Colorado Springs for quite a few years. Okay, I just recently retired from my career, so as of last month. So I'm very, very happy to be a free woman.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. But one day I was in Colorado Springs, and I was, I think, on a break from work, and I was walking into a Starbucks there. But I had to leave immediately because I was telepathically hearing everybody's thoughts in that Starbucks, and it was a very busy Starbucks. I mean, there was lots of people in there, okay? What shocked me was how negatively most people think about others and about themselves.
Yeah, I would believe that.
So even as I walked out of the Starbucks, I was still hearing people's thoughts as I was passing them on the street. And some people, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that would be challenging to have that experience going out into public.
Oh, it hurt my head and it hurt my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And some people were thinking like,
quick break. Sorry to cut you off. We're actually going to need to take a really quick break.
Okay.
So we'll continue from that point where you're having your experiences afterwards when we return. You guys, we are visiting with Debbie Solaris, and this is Soul Wanderings on KGRAradio.com, and we will be right back.
For years, our listeners connect to the KGRA on various platforms like TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and many more. Now, you can stream your favorite paranormal talk radio shows with our new fully integrated custom KGRA mobile apps for Android and iPhones. Listen to your favorite paranormal talk shows from any mobile device 24/7, free with smartphone or tablet. Utilize custom features to access news, show pages, archives, contests, events, and live interactive chat rooms. Set show notification alerts and never miss your favorite live programs. All free and available to download in Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Balance of Nature's fruit and veggie capsules contain 100% fine-ripened fruits and vegetables, tested pure with no pesticides, fillers, or additives of any kind, and are the most effective whole food supplements on the market today. You might ask, how can over 10 servings of 31 different fruits and vegetables fit into 6 vegetarian capsules? Fruits and vegetables are on an average 85% water. Balance of Nature uses cold vacuum technology to remove the water, leaving only the whole food. We don't use any heat, air, or light drying methods that damage nutrients. Our cold vacuum technology maintains 99% of the fresh fruits and vegetables' original nutritional value. Along with diet and exercise, Mother Nature provides fruits and vegetables to help us maintain good health.
To order, go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751 and use discount code TALK.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation. And Angioprim is the result, a safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
You know, food was different 60 years ago. It was minimally processed, free of pesticides. It was nourishing and healthful for your body. Today, GMOs, pesticides, herbicides, and heavy processing have depleted the nutrition of our food supply, which takes a toll on our health and energy. It's harder than ever to get the right nutrition. That's what Life Change Tea is meant to counteract. Our specially blended, powerful herbal formulas can give you more energy without caffeine. It's a mild cleanse, a mild daily detox. A good detox can help revive and bring back the energy of your youth. GetTheTea.com is the website. It'll cleanse you from the inside out with this herbal proprietary formula. Go to GetTheTea.com. There's no fillers, no GMOs. It's organic. Not available in stores. You must go to their website, GetTheTea.com. And their supplements are a great way to maintain your health. Read the testimonials on the website. Go to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Live alternative talk radio in over 125 countries across Mother Earth. KGRARadio.com.
Hello, you are listening to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. And you can find Soul Wanderings here as well as many other platforms for your convenience like TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, and make sure you guys check out the new official KGRA Radio on YouTube for the latest show archives. So wherever you guys are joining us from tonight, thank you. Welcome. And we're happy to have you here wandering with us this evening. If you guys have any questions for our guest, we are hanging out in the chat room. So we're headed into the second half of our wandering. So now's the time to ask. If you guys have anything, go over to kgraradio.com/chat. Tonight we are visiting with Debbie Solaris, an ET contactee, interdimensional traveler, and galactic historian. Welcome back, Debbie.
Thank you for having me back.
Your experience is so interesting to me, and I am thankful for the opportunity for you to share with us tonight.
Well, thank you.
Coming back, I can see why it was so challenging for you to be here when you were able to experience something so much greater dimensionally outside of us.
Yes, it was definitely a big adjustment, trying to get reacclimated to third dimensional reality. It's kind of similar to what a person that has a near death experience would have. You know, they find themselves in some alternate realm, and then they the only difference between me and them maybe is that I didn't have to die, you know, to have my experience, you know. So so yeah, it is very challenging, but you'll hear like very similar I think emotions from somebody that has a near-death experience and somebody that has an ET contact experience like I do. But getting back to the Starbucks stories, just to wrap it up, I was so affronted, you know, by the thoughts that I was hearing from people that I actually asked my guides if I can turn off that ability because I didn't want to hear people's thoughts anymore. And so what kind of was a message to me throughout that whole experience was that humans as a species, Earth humans, we're not ready for telepathy yet, okay? Because you have to have very positive thinking and be in love consciousness in order to connect with other humans. And if you haven't dealt with your stuff or you're still dealing with very negative thinking, it would contaminate the whole human race. Okay. So we have a lot of work to do on this planet, you know, as humans before we can get to the point where we can all telepathically communicate with each other. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes sense to me. I'm sure it does to a lot of people here.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed too is that I was starting to have a lot more UFO sightings, which before that I had never seen a UFO, but it was almost like commonplace, you know, for me. Like maybe I was tuned into their frequency now, so now I was seeing them more often. There was one experience I had where I was driving home at night on I-25 in Colorado. That's the main highway that we have here. And I saw a kind of a saucer-shaped ship with lights around the perimeter of it. And I could see it really well. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty low. And it, and I don't know, I'm a goofball sometimes. I saw this and I was so excited and I waved at it like real fast. And it was nighttime and I was thinking, what am I doing waving to this? They can't even see me. I mean, like, what the heck, you know? I mean, it's such a goofball. But then they flashed their lights at me 3 times, and they must have seen me, okay? And somehow I knew the ship was Pleiadian. I don't know how I knew that, but I don't know, it was just the energy I was, or something, but I knew the ship was Pleiadian. And so here was this goofball waving at it, and then they did flash their lights at me, and then they just kind of took off. And it was a very wonderful experience. I felt so elated after encountering that starship. Another time I was driving to work one morning, not paying attention to anything, like, because it was early in the morning. And somehow I heard my name in my head. And I was like, what the heck? You know, and I knew it wasn't me. You know, I heard my name like 3 times. And then I heard this voice say, look up. And so I looked up and there was 2 golden cylindrical ships in the eastern sky as I was heading south on I-25. Okay. And I figured, oh, they must be communicating with me telepathically. So I telepathically sent them a message asking them if they were here to help us or hurt us. And they replied, help. Okay. I then saw the ship erasing the chemtrail lines that were in the sky. And I started crying like an idiot. Like I'm always so emotional. Because I felt like, oh my God, we really do have friends out there that really want to help us. And then the ships disappeared, and that was the end of that experience, okay? I noticed that I became a higher level energy and information conduit and interpreter. I was noticing this ability while I was going through random experiences with interdimensional traveling. For instance, I'd be driving someplace and I'd find myself passing through multiple dimensions. The trees and landscapes would change. And I would start seeing the colors becoming more brilliant, the details became more sharper, and there would be energy. You could see the energy around the trees, and even the rocks would vibrate. So whenever I was going through these dimensions, when I was traveling for my job, for instance, I always found that random people would always want to hug me.
Your energy felt so good.
I guess. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Because at the time I was working, when I was still working, I was a health inspector. So I wasn't somebody that people usually wanted to hug, okay? So, but somehow my clients would pick up on this higher dimensional energy, and that I was carrying from my travels, okay? And they would want to like have some sort of physical contact with me, maybe the hone in or some emotional contact. Sometimes I'd have clients that just want me to stay in their restaurant, you know, like they just keep talking to me and it's like, oh, I'm on a schedule, I got to go. And they want to keep talking to me. And I'm just like, they were never like this with me before. What's going on? You know, so it was weird experiences like that. The other thing I found myself doing was I was randomly picking up on people's past lives and star origins. Like I could look at somebody and say, oh yeah, that person's had multiple lifetimes on Sirius. And I was thinking, how do I know that? You know, I mean, it was just crazy. Just give you an example. One lady asked me once why her husband was so fascinated with griffins. And I just blurted out, because your husband's lineage is Celtic and his family crest has a griffin on it. I didn't know this lady. I didn't even know her last name. Okay. I don't know why I even said that. So we thought, okay, for fun, let's look up your husband's family name and see what the crest has on it. And sure enough, it had a griffin on it. How did I know that? Okay. So these kind of events were happening with me so much that it kind of led me to start discovering more about my ancestral connection to the Akashic records and fine-tuning my ability to access them, okay? Because at this point, I was like, you know, there's some reason why I'm having, you know, these crazy experiences. There must be a reason for me being able to access, you know, people's people's past lives. So I started taking quite a few spiritual courses, you know, locally. I'm fortunate to live in Colorado, where we do have a plethora of, you know, spiritual offerings here in our state. We're Starseed Central here, so you know, we're fortunate to have, you know, quite a few offerings. I actually discovered somebody here in my hometown of Castle Rock that offered Akashic Records reading training. And I thought, oh my gosh. And she was somebody I was already taking classes from. And I was kind of like, I can't believe I have somebody teaching Akashic Records 5 minutes from where I live. Okay. I mean, it was crazy. Almost like it was meant to be. Okay. So, I started taking the trainings, and I did it. I mean, I was already accessing the records, but I took the trainings, I think, mainly to get a concept of the terminology and the process, because I was just kind of willy-nilly going into the records, and I wanted to learn the actual proper process and, you know, the appropriate way, you know, to access the records. And also, I think getting a certification helps, you know, kind of gives you some credibility, you know, so I went through all 3 levels. It took me a while, actually. I didn't do one after the other. I was already starting to do Akashic Records readings professionally after taking the first level. Okay. But I just started, I started off very slow. I remember one of the criteria, it was like a homework thing that we had to do for Akashic One, was to do 10 readings for 10 different people for free. Okay. And I thought, okay, I can do that. That should be a piece of cake. That was hard. It was very difficult to find 10 people who was willing to let me do their reading for them for free. I don't know why. It took me months. I mean, to accomplish that simple. I don't know.
Me.
What's that?
That really surprises me.
It surprised me too. And I think because this was like 3 or 4 years ago, people didn't know what Akashic Records were. Most, people that were in my circles, not the spiritual people did, they knew what it was, but it took me months to accomplish that. And then I took Akashic 2 and, and then from there on, it got a lot easier. But I remember as I was taking these courses, my husband was telling me, oh, you'll never make a business out of this. Nobody knows what the Akashic Records are. And I told him, watch me. Okay. And now I have hundreds of clients around the world. I mean, I have clients in countries I've never even heard of. I mean, it's just like people find me on YouTube or they find me on Facebook or their friends tell me about me or somebody tells them, family member. And I have a very thriving business right now, doing this kind of work. I feel extremely honored, and I say that with all sincerity, that I am able to do this kind of work, for the people that are my clients. Mm-hmm. Akashic Records reading it's a life-changing reading. The way I describe it, it gives you like a 360-degree view of your soul's journey. And we do talk a lot about past lives, but we also touch a lot on present life matters and also on future lives. What are we moving into? Okay, so I feel extremely honored, to be able to facilitate this process for people that come to me as my clients, because I meet a lot of magnificent souls. I mean, just when I see, I think I fall in love with every client that I encounter on some level. What's that?
It would be hard not to.
Yeah.
I see how having that kind of connection. But just for the record, for those who don't know what an Akashic record is, why don't you explain?
Okay. So the Akashic Records is kind of like this. It's kind of like the supercomputer of the universe. Okay. That's how I like to describe it. It contains every single event, experience, emotion, sensation, thought that has ever occurred from the beginning of this universe into infinity. Okay, I mean, it is what the Bible called the book of life. Okay, anybody, actually, this is something that surprised me, but we were taught this in Akashic One. Anybody can access the Akashic Records. It's not like I have a special password, okay? I just have an ancestral connection to it, so it's very easy for me to connect with the records. But anybody can access the records and get information. Even nefarious beings can access the records and get information, okay?
How would they go about doing that? Just simply asking? With
me, it's part of a process. So what I do is I connect myself with my client's energy field. Okay, so I do this through a process called a divine heart triangle, where I'm connecting my heart chakra to them, and then we're connecting the source. So that's why it's called a triangle. And it keeps the vibration between me and my client very high. Then I clear the space. You know, we always want to clear space before we do any kind of energetic work. And then I just do the pathway prayer process. That is a traditional pathway prayer, is a traditional way of accessing the records that was taught by Linda Howe in her book, How to Read the Akashic Records, which you can find on Amazon. Okay. I'm not sure how other people access the records. That's how I access them. Okay. That's how I was trained. So, but to me, it's very seamless. I mean, I don't even have to really focus that hard on it. It just happens. Okay. I can even before I access the records, I can look at somebody and I know what their star lineage is just from their auric field. Okay. And I don't know, I can't even explain how I know this. It's through certain energy, like, sometimes, like Pleiadian energy, for instance, is very, very bright. Okay, so if somebody has a very bright aura, they're usually of Pleiadian origins, or they've had quite a few Pleiadian lives. Okay, that's just an example. Okay, somebody with maybe aura that's kind of purpley, magenta, bluish might. Excuse me, I am so sorry. Might be from Arcturus. Okay, so those are like little clues. But sometimes I can look at somebody and I say, oh yeah, you're from Alpha Centauri. Okay, that's not a very common place to be from, but somehow I know it. Okay. As far as how I get the information, how it comes to me, it comes to me in a variety of different ways. So it's kind of like opening up a crystal record. Okay, so I'm accessing that person's record energetically. Okay, and I see a movie. Okay, so I see a visual story. Okay. Sometimes I'm also hearing sound or music, or I'm getting messages from their guides. Okay, because I'm always working with that person's guides and my Akashic guides. Okay. Sometimes I'll smell smells. A lot of times I'll feel the feelings. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the guides will guide me to what that person needs to know. So a lot of times these people will get their questions answered even before they ask the question. Mm-hmm. I've had my clients tell me that over and over and over again. So it's like a combination of different clair gifts, maybe. It's a very multi-dimensional experience. Every reading is different. Okay, there's some common themes with certain star systems, like the Lyra Vega. A lot of people are traumatized after Lyra Vega. Excuse me.
Or girl.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. Excuse me. Let me just take a sip of water here.
And through your research and training, you've learned about the different types of star beings and nations and being, like, all of those things, right? Because when you were on the ship, your initial experience, you didn't even know what Akashic records were or different types of beings were.
Right.
You just know that's what you saw through your studying, through your classes and things like that?
I would say it happened kind of organically, and then also through training and research. I was finding I was getting downloads of information.
Oh, okay.
And I I knew I was seeing something really significant, but I wanted to verify it to make sure what I was seeing was real. So I ended up doing a lot of research online and reading a lot of books. And, so I would say it was simultaneously, my research combined with the downloads I was receiving. And there were massive downloads. I mean, it was just like I was seeing galactic wars and stuff that was going on in the stars, and I was just like, what the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to see if there was other people that were talking about the things that I was visually seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there weren't. Sometimes I'd see stuff in the records. Oftentimes I see things in the records that nobody else talks about. An example of that would be like each of the stars in the Pleiades cluster all have a specialty. Nobody else talks about that, okay? Somehow I know that because of my access to the records, okay? I see certain there's some things that, I can verify through research, other things I can't. I just have to go by, this is what I'm seeing in the records, and I see it so often that it must be true. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, it does to a certain degree. Plus, I'm sure that your clairabilities are a validation also. Just maybe even the claircognizant, just the knowing that to be true.
Yeah. And a lot of times, people ask me, well, who do you follow or who do you, I don't really follow anybody. I might listen to something and I might think, oh yeah, that resonates with me, or it doesn't, or I just kind of go by my own guidance and my own, I guess, compass, internal compass, so to speak. So I don't really, I can't really consider myself a follower of anybody. I just kind of do my own thing, and I'm kind of a lone wolf. I am an Arcturian starseed, and we tend to be lone wolves. We do our own thing. So, so that's how I operate. It does seem to be accurate. When I do readings for people, sometimes bizarre things will come up in the records, but it seems to resonate with them. Okay, so I'm like, okay, this is weird, but they seem to be connecting with it, so I'm okay with that. Okay.
Well, and just like you said before we even were on air, you literally are a conduit for the information that you.
That's right. Yeah, because I'm not anybody special. Okay, I probably am the humblest reader out there. I mean, I really don't. I don't have an ego attached to any of the work that I do. It's kind of like I feel like I'm here to be of service, and I want to help people, help them accelerate on their spiritual paths, or help them to solve some issues that are, excuse me, in their lives. Okay, so. So so I just kind of feel like I can access this information, and I'm just like a human being, just like anybody else that's just able to access this information. Okay. And so somehow my human avatar, if you want to call it that, is just here to be able to access this information, to assist light workers and star seeds and other folks on their path. Okay, so
do you feel it's important for us to have and know this information while we're here having this human experience?
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because this is what I do, but
does it change our reality here? Like, does it give us an opportunity to elevate or change our direction in this life to go further in our next experience?
Yes, I believe that wholeheartedly. I've seen people's lives change after having an Akashic reading, even just one.
Like how so? They change careers, they change
everything.
Family.
Everything. I've seen people change careers. I've seen people leave unfulfilling relationships. I've seen people move from, one part of the country to another, or to even to another country. I see people stepping into their mission. I've had so many clients tell me, and I'm not bragging on myself at all when I say this, but they say, your reading changed my life. Mm-hmm. And the information that I received validated who I am, validated the path I was supposed to be on, and I felt more confidence going forward. And I mean, I've just seen so many amazing changes. Just to give you an example, I'm not going to name any names. There's a video on my channel called Arturian Grieving Father. It was a story of a young man who lost his 2-year-old daughter through a tragic death. I mean, very, very tragic. The daughter was given a Oxycontin overdose by her own mother. And she had 10 times the amount of Oxycontin that she should have had, and obviously died. Okay. This young man came to me because he was having a hard time processing through his grief. And at the time that he and I did this reading together, he was still living at home. He was in his late 30s, still living at home, couldn't hold down a job, didn't have any successful relationships in his life, had no direction in his life whatsoever, was just kind of bouncing around one thing to the next, okay? He and I did a couple of readings together, and I just saw him recently at my retirement party. I mentioned before that I recently retired. He came to my retirement party, and I kid you not, he looked like a different person. He not only looked like he lost weight, but he is now gainfully employed by Amazon, okay? He found a beautiful blonde girlfriend. They're living together in an apartment in South Denver. And he's, working at Amazon, and he's also doing spiritual work on the side. So he has his own side business. And he keeps telling me over and over again, Debbie, your reading changed my life. And I said, well, you were the one that manifested this reality. I just showed you the possibilities. Mm. And so that's just an example of, I can tell you story after story of my clients.
Sure. Yeah, good.
Yeah, but that's just an example.
What about Akashic clearing? What is that for? Why would that be a thing?
I actually am getting more and more clients requesting Akashic clearings. I think what's happening now is a lot of us are on this accelerated path to meet our mission. Okay, a lot of us that are, volunteers that, from other star systems. But because we have, incarnated here on Earth, we've taken on quite a bit of karma, sometimes a lot of ancestral karma, sometimes it's our own karma, sometimes it's a lot of programs, negative programs, maybe from past lives. I was drawn to doing Akashic clearings because I was finding that some of my clients were struggling, okay, with breaking old habits or breaking old patterns. And I asked my guides, well, what can I put together to help my clients? And somehow this was downloaded to me, like a lot of things, okay, this process. And I have my own process. So my clearing process is probably different than anybody else's. So what I do is I check chakra systems, I check soul programs, I check master programs, I check origination points, I check subconscious programs. It's a very technical psychological approach to clearing, okay? But what the beautiful thing about doing an Akashic clearing is that not only does it give you the information of what was the origin of your blockage, or what was the origin of your program, your negative program, okay? Not only does that, but it also gives, because we have the records that are open, okay, you know, I'm connected to that person's records, they're connected to their records, the records are open. Just because the records are located in the highest dimensional realms, just speaking a word into being creates a new reality. So you can actually reprogram your own Akashic records. Okay, a lot of people don't know that, but you can set new intentions in your records. Okay, so what I do is I set my client on a self-sovereignty invocation that covers. It's based on the law of one, and it covers everything. Okay, it covers anything that could trip a person up. Okay, we set new intentions. So we're actually reestablishing that person as a divine child of the universe, and they are only self-sovereign to themselves. Okay, and to source. Okay, as guardians of this planet. Okay, so it's a very powerful reading. I've also seen people's realities shift after having this clearing. Sometimes it takes a while. It depends on the client, and sometimes it happens in, you know, certain ways. But you know, it happens differently. Like I had one client who was having a hard time connecting with her Arcturian star family, so we did a clearing. And the very next day, she had this beautiful experience where she connected with her family, and she was so overjoyed that she just wrote me this tearful email that, you know, she was just like so overjoyed that all of a sudden she was able to connect with her star family. Another client of mine, and this is actually a physical issue, and she was a dear client of mine from the UK, was suffering from macular degeneration. I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think a clearing is going to help, but it was the only thing I could think of I could do to help her because because she was losing her eyesight. Okay. So I don't often do this, but I did this to her pro bono, I guess, you know, because I just wanted to help her. And I just said, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do this as a gift to you, but I'm not sure what's going to come out of it. Okay, so we did the clearing. 2 weeks later, she got a call from her doctor that they just came across a experimental surgery that they thought she would be a really great candidate for that could restore her eyesight. Okay, I mean, this woman's eyesight was so bad before that she couldn't take her hikes anymore. She couldn't walk her dogs. She was starting to get scared because she couldn't do the things that she wanted to do anymore. After doing the clearing, like I said, I had very, very low hopes, okay? Her doctor told her they had this surgery. She had the surgery, and her eyesight is not like 100% improved, but it has improved a lot. So now she's back to doing her normal, everyday, you know, things that she loves to do. And she credits my clearing. And I told her, well, I didn't really do anything. You know, I just set a new intention in the records for you, you know. So that's just a couple of examples. But the clearings are very, very powerful, to answer your question.
Yeah, I could see how they would be. I wasn't sure that. I know we have our free agency. I wasn't sure that we could rewrite our story, though, if you will. I wasn't sure that was really a thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I always tell people, you're the captain of your own destiny. You know, we're magnificent, powerful beings. We're more magnificent and powerful than we even realize. We can manifest our own reality.
So let me ask you this. Before we come here, do you believe that we choose the series of events for us to have our experiences to learn the things that we want to learn in order to move forward, like they say. Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're asking. I would say yes, mostly yes. Now, there are sometimes incidences that happen that are accidents, okay? I just did a reading for a lady that lost her son just recently last month, and that was not something she chose, and that was not something he chose. It was an accident. It was due to a choice that he made, very poor choice. He was drinking while he was driving and got into an car accident, and died. Okay. That would be an example of something that was not predetermined. Okay. Things in the records are kind of like possibilities. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like walking into a hall of mirrors, and you have all these possibilities, and they may all look the same, but there's varying differences, and it just depends on which one you choose. So our realities can change frequently, okay, just from a choice that we make, okay? But I would say, yes, there is certain, maybe some certain, when we're in that in-between life stage, what the Tibetans call it bardo, where we make our choices, in between lives. A lot of times we make some tough choices, okay? And it's because we're trying to maybe either have learned the human condition, or to have certain experiences, or to learn certain lessons. So I do believe that. But then there's also decisions that we can make on a day-to-day basis that can change our reality. Okay, so the Akashic records continuously shift and change, okay? But I would say there's certain things that stay constant, and that would be universal law, okay?
Universal law. Explain that to me.
For instance, there's certain universal laws in place that I would say, like the law of free will and freedom. That is something that never changes, okay? It's just sometimes I think when we become third dimensional, we forget that we have free will and freedom. Okay, we get conditioned into our society to a certain extent, and we forget that we're self-sovereign beings. Okay, so that's just an example of one, but there's multiple examples of that. I do recommend that people, if they haven't already, it sounds like your audience, they're very well educated. But if they read the Law of One, it gives them a pretty good idea of universal laws.
Well, you have several offerings on your website, and I do want to refer everybody over there so that if they are interested in a reading of any kind, you have several available for them to choose from. We did talk, you said the Akashic readings would be the best. You get the most information during that type of reading, but you also offer intuitive readings, tarot and oracle readings, a starseed origin reading. So now that you're aware of the gifts that you have, how did those manifest for you, and which one do you recommend for someone to get if they were to choose any of them?
Okay. I have several offerings because sometimes people need different types of readings. Okay. And I think my offerings will likely expand, I think, now that I'm retired from my day job, so to speak. And as I learn as well, because I'm always constantly learning along with everybody else. But I would say for the average person, I would say for anybody, the Akashic reading is probably your best bang for your buck, so to speak. You'll get a ton of information. You'll get information on your star lineage. You'll get information on your past lives, both off-world and on-world. You'll get an idea of what your galactic gifts are. You'll get soul mission. I mean, it's just a fantastic reading. Now, if you're struggling and having issues, okay, with certain things, the Akashic Clearing is also a great reading. Okay, I usually recommend the Akashic reading, but if you're really struggling, you might want to consider doing an Akashic Clearing first. Okay, but that's only for certain circumstances. Okay, and you can read about that on my website. The Starseed offering or Origins reading, I offer that as an alternative to an Akashic reading if you can't afford an Akashic reading and you just want to know what your star lineage is. Nice, quick 30-minute reading, but you'll still get a lot of information. The intuitive reading is more like spiritual guidance. Okay, I offer that because sometimes my clients don't necessarily need an Akashic reading, but they might have questions about certain things. And that's a really nice reading to have if you just need some spiritual guidance on something, okay? Or you're struggling with something in your life and you just need some information from your guides and mine, okay? So that's also a very nice reading. The tarot's on there because I do have experience with reading tarot. I've been doing that for over 30 years, okay? Sometimes my clients just want a fun reading that gives them a quick answer, and it is an offering. It's probably my least popular reading because most people that are drawn to me are on the spiritual path and they're looking for something more meaty and substantial, but like an Akashic reading. But I do offer that for some of my clients. Some of them do like the tarot reading. Okay, so that's just a breakdown of my offerings. I also do trainings. I do classes and presentations. I haven't done any lately because I've been I've had some health issues that I've been trying to overcome, and I am feeling a lot better. But I have offered classes throughout the Front Range of Colorado. They're very informative, very multimedia rich. I like to use a lot of pictures and music and I just want to give somebody that experience, I do presentations and I don't mind speaking, and that's not like my I would say I'm actually an introvert, so I'm not somebody that's drawn to public speaking, but I can do it very well. Okay. When I need to do it, I'll do it. And it's like, I think somehow like my higher self takes over when I do public speaking.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So for the sake of time, people can find you on YouTube as well, where they can also learn more about your gifts and how you came to have them. So for the sake of time and not being able to answer that question quickly, they did hear quite a bit of your story, however, but give them your website and then your YouTube information so that they can access that. Absolutely. My website's very simple. It's Debbie Solaris, DebbieSolaris.com. You can find me on YouTube just by searching under Debbie Solaris. You'll find my channel. I want to speak a little bit about my channel if we have time. Just a few minutes, absolutely. Yeah. On my channel are actual readings I've done for people that have been converted to video. So if you want to get an idea of what a reading with me is like, definitely check out the YouTube channel. There's at least, I just started it a few months ago, but there's like 26 videos on there, all featuring different star systems or different types of scenarios. And
I have a great videographer that does a beautiful job of illustrating the stories, and it gives you a really good idea of what a reading with me is like. So just search under Debbie Solaris and you'll find me on YouTube. And I'm also on Facebook.
Thank you. And I do have one question, if you can answer it.
Sure.
Without it taking too long, because
I'll try to make it quick.
No, but I'm curious, do you have any downloads or anything channeled through you that you want to share with us for the sake of our universe? Like, obviously there's a lot of horrible things going on in the world today. Not just thought patterns and beliefs, but, a lot of horrible and negative things. Do you have any inspiration that you would like to share with us as we close this wandering?
Absolutely. Just from my experiences, we have a plethora of star races out there that are rooting for us here on Earth. Okay. Earth is kind of 0 point, okay, here in this galaxy. The reason why a lot of us have volunteered to be here is because the rest of the galaxy and the rest of the star systems cannot evolve further unless Earth evolves further. Earth's evolution has been derailed, I would say, for thousands of years. Okay, Earth was originally supposed to be a fifth-dimensional planet. Humans were supposed to originally have 12-strand DNA. Okay, so that's why a lot of us are here. We're here to accelerate Earth to its true destiny, which is to become a member of the greater galactic family. Okay, I guess the message I just want to bring across to people is that we're not alone. I mean, I know that sounds very simplistic, but we have Star Family that's available to help us, to guide us. They can't do the work for us, but they will certainly help us and guide us. And whatever it is that you love to do, whatever it is that you have to offer to this planet, even if it's just to be a great human being, just to be a better human being, that in itself will shift the reality of this planet. Okay, so you have, millions of star seeds and other, evolved humans out there that are doing their work, that are shifting the reality of our planet just by being who they are, just by raising their vibrations, by doing the work. And from what I understand, I don't know where I got this number from, but each light worker affects not only their immediate aura, but the work that they do affects the vibration of a 50-mile radius around them.
Wow.
Yeah, so
incredible.
Isn't that incredible? So if you have all of us kind of, pocketed in all these little areas of the planet, can you imagine the impact we would make? I mean, we're already doing the work, and the world is already changing. There is horrible things that are happening, but we also have, I would say, I think we're finally tipping the scales towards that of the light instead of that towards the dark. Okay.
That's very helpful information. I really, truly appreciate you sharing that with us, and it's a great way to wrap up the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Debbie. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And again, everybody, make sure you go and check out her website, Debbie Solaris, SOLARIS.com. Thanks again, Debbie.
Thank you, AJ, for having me here today, and also for the opportunity to share my experiences. And many thanks to you and to all your listeners today for your interest and for listening to my story.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next week on Soul Wanderings, I have invited Jennifer Van Gorp to wander with us. Jennifer specializes in quantum healing hypnosis therapy, which allows one to access past life experiences. And she'll be sharing her personal journey with us, as well as many stories of her clients, with permission, of course. And so I hope to have you guys back for yet another Wandering next week. You can find Soul Wanderings on all the main social media platforms, as well as soulwanderings.com. And make sure you guys are following all of KGRA Radio on all of the social media, Facebook, on Stellar, and of course, YouTube. So share with your friends and family. Let's have conversations with each other, you guys. Thanks again, everyone, for being here, and have a happy day.